Songs from 70 years ago. Do you remember when this song changed rock and roll forever? Or when this other one carried an unknown singer straight into legend?
Yo no soy marinero. Yo no soy marinero. Soy capitán.
70 years ago, while America was still finding its feet after the war, a handful of records broke out of small studios and hit with a force that still shakes us today. We're talking about songs that didn't just define an era, but hold secrets of first loves, quiet heartbreaks, and dreams that once belonged to all of us.
I love you, and I always...
Today I want to take you back to those chords, to those voices from the past, even if only for a moment. Stay until the end.
Por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Yo no soy marinero.
Number 10. Great Balls of Fire, Jerry Lee Lewis.
And I went over phone. I'm real nervous, but it sure is fun.
Some songs are gentle. This one arrived like a fire nobody could put out. Picture a hot night in Memphis, the summer air thick, a small studio on Union Avenue, with the tape machine already running.
Oh, the fire, kiss me, baby. Ooh, it feels.
It was October 8th, 1957. Inside Sun Studio, the same little room where Elvis had been discovered 3 years earlier.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire, kiss me, baby. Ooh.
Jerry Lee Lewis was 22 years old, and he had already scored a million-selling smash with whole lotta shakin' going on. Sam Phillips had the follow-up ready, a song by Otis Blackwell and Jack Hammer he was sure would make Lewis a superstar.
Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will.
Lewis refused to sing it. He had been raised in a strict Pentecostal home in Louisiana, and had actually been thrown out of Bible college in Texas for playing boogie-woogie during chapel.
I choose my nails and I twin over thumb. I'm real.
Standing in that studio, he became convinced the song was sinful, that recording it would damn him. What happened next survived only because engineer Jack Clement kept the tape rolling.
I thought it was funny. You came along and moved me, honey.
For nearly an hour, Lewis and Phillips argued about God, about the devil, about whether rock and roll could do any good at all. Phillips insisted music could save souls. Lewis exploded, demanding to know how the devil could possibly save souls, shouting that he had the devil in him.
And goodness gracious, great balls of fire, kiss me, baby.
Their drummer, J.M. Van Eden, remembered watching it unfold, Phillips as serious as a man could be, Lewis as heated as a man could get. And then, somehow, Lewis made his peace.
Oh, it feels good. Hold me, baby.
He turned back to the microphone and asked if they were ready to cut it. What came out was one of the most explosive performances ever pressed to vinyl, and it still exists today, argument and all, on the original Sun tapes.
I want to love you like a lover should. Yup.
Behind all that fire was a young man at war with his own soul, and you can hear every second of it. Where are you watching from tonight? Leave it in the comments. I want to know who is still out there remembering these songs with me.
But what a thrill. Goodness and gracious, great balls of fire. I like that look.
Number 9. Blueberry Hill, Fats Domino. This one feels like stepping back into a kitchen you grew up in. A screen door slapping shut, the smell of Sunday cooking, a radio humming on the counter. Fats Domino was never the rebel. While other young artists were terrifying parents across America, he was the man with the easy smile and the warm voice, the one your own mother liked. And yet he sold more than 110 million records and became one of the very first artists ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here is what almost nobody realizes about his most beloved song. Blueberry Hill was never his to begin with. It had been published back in 1940, 16 years before Domino ever touched it, and had already been a hit for Glenn Miller's orchestra during the big band era. Louis Armstrong recorded a version too, and that was the one that lodged in Domino's head and refused to leave. When he brought it to his longtime producer Dave Bartholomew in 1956, Bartholomew was not sold. It felt old-fashioned, wrong for the New Orleans rhythm and blues sound they had spent years building. Domino insisted anyway. He knew something the room did not. The result climbed to number 2 on the pop charts, held there 3 weeks, and reached number 1 on the rhythm and blues charts. It became the biggest hit of his career. Rolling Stone later ranked it number 82 among the greatest songs ever recorded. And the Library of Congress preserved it in the National Recording Registry as a recording of lasting importance to the United States. An old song from before the war, and a gentle man who simply would not let it go. Number 8. Put Your Head on My Shoulder. Paul Anka. Sound of being young enough that love still felt brand new. A school gym, streamers on the wall, the lights turned down low. Paul Anka was 17 years old when he walked into Bell Sound Studios in New York City on August 7, 1958 to record it. 17. He had already tasted enormous success with Diana, a song he wrote as a teenager about a girl at his family's church, and the whole industry was watching to see whether he was a fluke or the real thing. He wrote this one himself too, still living the exact nerves and butterflies he was singing about. No studio tricks, no oversized production. Arranger Don Costa built something so quiet that all you really hear is the promise inside the words. There is one small detail that captures the moment he was living in. He recorded this song just 20 days before he walked back into the same studio and cut Lonely Boy, which went straight to number 1. Two of the biggest records of his life, 3 weeks apart, before he had even turned 18. Put Your Head on My Shoulder was released in August of 1959 and climbed to number 2. The only thing keeping it from the top was Bobby Darin's Mac the Knife, and here is where it landed. In 2026, the Library of Congress selected this song for the National Recording Registry, preserving it for the nation. A teenager's simple love song, sitting today in the same archive as presidential speeches, one of those slow dances where nobody knew where to put their hands and nobody cared. Drop a like if you think the songs from back then still beat anything playing on the radio today. Number 7. Tutti Frutti, Little Richard. If the last few songs were about tenderness, this one was about letting go completely, the moment the party stopped being polite. Before any of this, Richard Penniman was washing dishes at a Greyhound bus station in Macon, Georgia, elbow deep in dirty pots, muttering a wild little chant to himself just to survive the shift. That chant became the opening line that would announce rock and roll to the world. By September of 1955, he had a record deal, but barely. Specialty Records had bought his contract for $600 and sent producer Bumps Blackwell to New Orleans to see what he had. The session at J&M Studio was going nowhere. Nothing they cut sounded like a hit. During a break, Richard sat at the piano and started pounding out a song he played in clubs, one he would never have dared bring to a session, because the original words were far too filthy for any radio station in 1955. Blackwell heard a hit instantly. The problem was those lyrics. He found a local songwriter named Dorothy Labostri and had her rewrite them on the spot, cleaning them into something playable. With the clock running out, there was no time for a fancy arrangement. Little Richard cut the finished version in 3 takes, about 15 minutes of work. You can almost see it, a teenager somewhere, leaning close to a radio speaker, hearing that opening shout for the first time, feeling their whole body wake up. That song hit number 17 on the pop charts, topped the rhythm and blues charts, and in 2009 entered the National Recording Registry. 15 rushed minutes, and rock and roll had its blueprint.
Before we get back to the music, take 1 second to hit that subscribe button. Most people who watch these videos aren't subscribed yet, and that means a lot of fans enjoying the music without being part of the community. If you love classic rock, legendary guitar riffs, and the songs that shaped generations, this channel was made for you. Every video takes time, research, and passion to bring these memories back to life. So if the music means something to you, subscribe and help keep rock alive right here on this channel. Now let's get back to the music.
Number 6. I've Got You Under My Skin. Frank Sinatra.
It repeats in my ear. Don't you?
Some men can say I love you with a shrug. Sinatra needed a full orchestra behind him, and somehow that made it hit even harder.
You under my skin.
Cole Porter wrote this back in 1936, and Sinatra had first sung it on his radio show a decade later, but the version everyone knows almost never existed. It was added to the album Songs for Swingin' Lovers at the last possible minute, leaving arranger Nelson Riddle only about 8 hours to write the entire orchestral score.
Use your mentality. Wake up, step up to reality.
On January 12, 1956, at Capitol's studio on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles, the band read through Riddle's chart for the very first time. When they finished, the musicians set down their instruments and applauded him.
Before I begin, 'cause I've got you.
The heart of that arrangement is the long, slow build in the middle, which erupts into a trombone solo by a player named Milt Bernhardt, and Riddle had written nothing there at all, just empty space, leaving Bernhardt free to improvise.
Part of me. I've got you.
Then came the problem. He could not get close enough to the microphone hanging above the brass. Sinatra himself walked out of the booth, found a small wooden crate, and set it at the trombonist's feet so he could stand taller.
Under my skin. I'd sacrifice any.
They recorded 22 takes before Sinatra was satisfied. When it was done, he invited Bernhardt into the control room to hear the playback with him, an honor almost no session musician ever received.
Well, that I've got you.
That album went on to become the first record ever to top the United Kingdom's album chart. What is your favorite song on this list so far? Leave it in the comments. I read every single one.
So well. But why should I try to resist when baby?
Number 5, La Bamba, Ritchie Valens.
Para bailar la bamba. Para bailar la bamba.
Imagine being 17 and suddenly hearing your own language pouring out of the radio, sitting shoulder to shoulder with the biggest voices in the country. He was born Richard Valenzuela in California, the son of a Mexican-American family, and here is the detail that stops people cold. He barely spoke Spanish. English was the language at home.
Por ti seré. Yo no soy marinero. Yo
When producer Bob Keane suggested recording an old folk song from the Mexican state of Veracruz, Valens hesitated, worried he could not do it justice, and for a while, the idea of recording it in English was seriously discussed. Instead, he went to his aunt, who wrote down as many of the traditional lyrics as she could remember, and he learned every word phonetically, sound by sound.
para bailar la bamba.
During the session at Gold Star Studios in Los Angeles, Keane reportedly stood behind him, quietly feeding him the words as he sang. He was backed by some of the finest players in the city, drummer Earl Palmer and guitarist Carol Kay among them. Nobody expected a thing from it. La Bamba was released in October of 1958 as the B-side, tucked behind a ballad called Donna that Valens wrote for his high school girlfriend. Donna became the big hit, reaching number 2. La Bamba only climbed to number 22, but history had other plans.
Una poca de gracia pa' mi patria, de arriba y arriba.
It became the first record to truly fuse Latin music with rock and roll, and it remains the only non-English language song in Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest ever recorded.
Bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba, es necesario.
On February 3, 1959, only months after its release, Valens died in the plane crash that also took Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. He was 17 years old, and he left a mark nothing has erased.
Gracia pa' mi patria, y arriba y arriba. Y arriba y arriba.
Number 4, Johnny B. Good, Chuck Berry.
Johnny be good. He used to carry his guitar.
Every guitar player who ever dreamed of becoming somebody started within reach of this song. Chuck Berry wrote it in 1955, though it would not be recorded and released until 1958.
Go, Johnny, go, go. Johnny be good.
The story it tells, a poor country boy who practices day and night hoping to see his name in lights, was partly Berry's own life and partly a tribute to his brilliant piano player Johnny Johnson, though on this recording, the piano was actually played by Lafayette Leake.
To carry his guitar in a gunny sack. Go sit beneath the tree by the railroad.
Even that famous opening riff, the one every young guitarist eventually tries to learn, was not built from nothing. Berry adapted it almost note for note from a solo by guitarist Carl Hogan on a Louis Jordan record from 1946.
His mother told him someday you will be a man and you will be the.
Genius here was knowing exactly what to borrow, and there is one line history nearly lost. In Berry's original lyrics, the boy is not a country boy at all. Berry wrote him as a colored boy, because that is who he was writing about, himself.
Track ball engine, you would see him sitting in the shade, strumming with the rhythm that.
Knowing precisely which stations in 1958 would refuse to play it, he changed one word to reach the widest audience possible. It rose to number 2 on the rhythm and blues charts and number 8 on the pop charts, and Rolling Stone now ranks it number 7 among the greatest songs ever recorded.
Go, 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 Johnny, go, 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 Johnny be good.
Then, in 1977, NASA chose it for the Voyager Golden Record, launched into deep space aboard 2 spacecraft. One committee member sniffed that rock music was too adolescent for such a mission.
Go, Johnny, go, 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 Johnny.
Astronomer Carl Sagan replied that there are a lot of adolescents on the planet. Remember that promise from the start of this video. Right now, past the edge of our solar system, Chuck Berry's guitar is still traveling, the farthest any music has ever gone. Subscribe if you want us to keep bringing these stories back to life for you.
Shade, strumming with the rhythm that the drivers made. When people passing by, they would stop and.
Number 3, Love Me Tender, Elvis Presley, 1956.
Till the end of time.
A young man with a soft voice and a gentle look stepped forward and made an entire generation believe in tenderness again. By that year, Elvis was already the most talked about performer in America, a figure parents genuinely feared.
Well, in love complete.
Then came this song, and the whole argument changed. No loud guitar, no pounding drums, just his voice, held back almost to a whisper. The melody is far older than most listeners ever knew. It comes from a ballad called Oralia, published in 1861 during the American Civil War. That old tune had been sung by college glee clubs for generations before Elvis touched it, and the songwriting credit hides a quiet story.
And I love you so.
The label reads Elvis Presley and Vera Mattson, but Vera Mattson did not write it. Her husband, a musical director named Ken Darby, wrote the lyrics and credited his wife instead.
Love me tender, love me sweet.
Elvis recorded it on August 24th, 1956, for his very first motion picture. What happened next had never happened to anyone.
Love me long, tell me.
On November 11th, 1956, Love Me Tender reached #1, and the record it knocked out of the top spot was Elvis's own Don't Be Cruel.
I'll be with you, even then. Love me.
He became the first artist in history to replace himself at #1. A 95-year-old melody, a hidden songwriter, and a young man proving he could break your heart as easily as shake the walls.
Love me tender, love me long.
#2, Jailhouse Rock, Elvis Presley.
Murphy played the tenor saxophone. Little Joe was blowing on the slide trombone.
If the last song showed his gentleness, this one showed exactly why the world could not look away. By 1957, Elvis was no longer a rising star, he was a phenomenon, and the songwriting team of Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller were handed a very specific job. Write something for a film about a young man who learns to play music behind bars. What they delivered took a setting that should have been grim, a prison, and turned it into pure celebration. That contrast is the whole trick, and it is why the song never gets old. But the reason it changed everything was not only the sound, it was what people saw. The film built an entire sequence around it, a full choreographed dance, staged on a set, made to look like a cell block. Elvis moving in a way audiences had simply never witnessed.
Come on and do the Jailhouse Rock with me, rock.
Understand what that meant in 1957. Television was young. Most people had never watched a rock and roll performance up close in their lives. Picture a packed movie theater, the whole room leaning forward at once. Kids who had only ever heard this music, suddenly seeing what it looked like. That sequence taught a generation what a rock star was, and it is still studied as an ancestor of the modern music video. The song went to #1 in both the United States and the United Kingdom. Underneath the swagger was something people felt without ever saying it. Elvis was not only representing youth, he was representing freedom. The idea that even in the most confined place imaginable, music could still set you loose. And now the one that closes this list. The song this generation still names first, before any other, when they talk about falling in love to the radio.
Everybody, let's rock. Everybody,
#1, Only You, the Platters.
and to make the darkness bright.
This is the sound of a love letter someone was too shy to ever send. The Platters first recorded this in 1954 for Federal Records, and the label rejected it flat.
Are my destiny.
The head of the company called it unreleasable. As far as the industry was concerned, that was the end of it. Their manager Buck Ram, who had written the song, refused to accept that. He built a deal with Mercury Records, so clever it changed history, offering Mercury another group he managed on the condition that they also signed the Platters. They went back into the studio on April 26, 1955, with Ram himself at the piano, the only Platters recording he ever played on. And what made the difference was something no one could have written into an arrangement. Remember the promise from the very start of this video, the song Saved by a Bump in the Road. According to the group's bass singer Herb Reed, they had tried it over and over, and it kept falling flat. Then one day, they were rehearsing inside a car, and the car jerked. In that instant, lead singer Tony Williams' voice broke upward, cracking right in the middle of the word "only." They laughed at first, then they stopped laughing. Because every man in that car understood they had just found the song. They kept the break in the final recording. That tiny human flaw is the exact moment listeners still respond to 70 years later. Only You climbed to number 5 on the pop charts, spent 7 weeks at number 1 on the rhythm and blues charts, and stayed on the charts for 30 straight weeks. A song thrown in the garbage, saved by a pothole in the road. 10 songs, 10 stories that almost never happened. A man arguing with the devil, a boy learning words he did not speak, a voice cracking on a bump in the road, a guitar still flying past the stars. None of these were guaranteed. Every one of them nearly slipped through history's fingers, and yet here they still are, playing in your memory the same way they did the very first time. That is the strange magic of it. The people who made these records are almost all gone now, but the 3 minutes they left behind outlived every one of them, and they will outlive us too. So tell me, which one takes you all the way back the second it starts? Which one was playing the first time you fell in love? Leave it in the comments, tell me your story, and I promise I will read it. I will see you in the next one.
Darkness bright.